Good morning, Emmaus Rotarians. Let's rise and sing our patriotic song. We're going to have to do it a cappella today. Sue Strader's feeling a little under the weather. She sent me a note last night and said, if I'm less than 50% mucus, I'll show up tomorrow. So she must be feeling pretty rough. So we're going to sing My Country 'Tis of Thee.
My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Thank you. Gary Robach, you our invocation today.
May we bow our heads? O Lord, bless this food for our nourishment and strengthen us for the burdens of service which we gladly shoulder in your name. Amen.
Okay. Very good crowd this morning. Thanks for everyone coming out on such a warm and sunny January day. Lexi, you have introduction visitors and guests.
Jonathan Noble, and what club are you from? Thank you. And we are on Fencer Market.
Welcome. Okay, just a quick reminder for the members of the board. We have our monthly meeting after today's meeting, a week earlier than normal because Brookeside's going to be shut down the next couple of weeks, so it's just going to be easier for us to meet today as opposed to our typical fourth Thursday. Members, you are more than welcome to attend, but it'll be right after this morning's meeting. Alicia, you have an announcement?
Yes. Fellow Rotarians, I just wanted you to know that we have a committee that is working on giving the award on International Women's Day, which is March 8th, to a woman from the community and to a Rotarian woman who has distinguished herself in her field of choice for the community woman and for her humanitarian service to the community, and for Rotary women who have distinguished themselves with local and international service. The committee is composed of Rose Galliano Phillips, David Dunn, Dee Eng, and myself. And we will be asking you for nominations. We'll be giving you what the criteria is for that. And I have already asked our fellow Rotarian to help us also with some of the citations, so that I will be giving you more information on that. Our committee meets every Thursdays after this meeting. So if anyone is interested in joining us, you're more than welcome. It's until about 9:30. We have also formed another committee, and I'm also chairing that committee. And by the way, Rose Galliano is co-chairing the Women's International Day Committee with me. The other one is what we call the Cyber Emmaus Rotary Club Parents and Grandparents Cyber Workshop. And this will be a workshop for parents, grandparents of our club. Your parents are invited, for those of you who have parents who are not Rotarians, your friends. And what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate in teaching ourselves how to use the apps that our children use so that we can help our children when they come to us with problems. And we are working on a really exciting an hour-and-a-half workshop, not at the club meeting. We'll be at a different hour at a different place, and more will be coming. Valerie Deneen is one of our members. Tony Morris from the Willow Elementary is the other member, and myself. So right now, I may be tapping and asking some of you to help us. So if you're interested, please let us know. And this will be done in April. Thank you. More to come. Great.
Thanks, Alicia. A couple of weeks ago, I mentioned the dolls that have been collected by Fred Schaefer's daughter. Fred Schaefer was a past president of this club back many, many years ago. These dolls are going to be given to to Patty Smith, who chairs the International Student Exchange Program for Rotary in our area. So Gary Rohrbach and I are sort of leading this thing. So Saturday, this coming Saturday morning, We're going to go over to Bob Hornberger's house, where the dolls are at, and we're going to pack the dolls in boxes, wrap them and whatnot, and have them ready for transport. Unfortunately, Patty's not around this weekend, so next weekend, then we'll go back and get the boxes from Bob's house and take them to Patty's house. There's about 150 or 200 dolls that we're talking about. So, you know, it's not going to be pretty if it's just Gary and me wrapping these things. So, you know, we could definitely use a little help. Maybe somebody who's a little bit more delicately inclined than Gary said he's a bull in a china shop. I don't want to say what I am. So, and I thank John Chiska for donating some boxes for us to use. But if you have an interest in that, please speak to either Gary or me, hopefully today, so we can just get a beat on how many folks might be willing to help. Thanks very much. I mentioned that Brookside will be closed for the next 2 weeks. It's annual winter shutdown. So we have 2 off-site programs that we'll be doing next Thursday and the Thursday after that. So Rick, do you want to just refresh people next week?
Yeah, next week we will be at Smooth On. We'll be meeting there at 7:30 in the morning. It's like a normal meeting. Come in. Please try and get there by 7:15 so we get all set up and ready to go by 7:30. There will be someone taking your money or someone signing you in. It'll be almost like a normal meeting. We'll make a shortened version. Trey will say some words. Trey is the president of Smooth On. And then we'll do a tour. There'll be, when we first sat down, there's 2 tours, one and a half an hour, 1 an hour, depending on what you can do. Guys, if you've never seen this, it is fascinating. These people have done an exemplary job with this building. And just to see the way it's laid out, you'll have a good time. But after this meeting, after our board meeting is the last, I have to get them the number today. They gave us an extension. So if you want to go, please tell me by the end of the board meeting. I'll put you on a list and we'll send our numbers in. So I'll see you next week. Yes, Jim?
Where are we on parking for that?
I'll send you a little detailed Google map so you know exactly where you're going, but it's going to be in the back. You're going to enter into the back of the building. Okay?
How much are guests?
How much your guess?
It's the same rate as normal. If it's their first visit, it's free. But if they're a returning guest, then they're supposed to pay just like the rest of us.
I'm sorry? No, we talked about that. We'll get to the main entrance during the it's too hard to get from where the main entrance is up to the conference room. So where we're going to park is you're just going to walk in the door, and the conference area where we're going to be is going to be right there.
Gary.
Just to jump back to this doll question, okay. Is there anybody that thinks they'd be able to help Bert and I this coming Saturday morning? I'm assuming it's only going to be an hour or 2 hours, something like that. Bill, okay, anybody else?
What time and where is it?
Not a great
We're going to meet at 9 o'clock and it's in Allentown on Lindbergh Avenue. I can send out an email with the exact address on it, but it's south of Cedar Crest, okay? One of the things we're going to need is boxes and packing material. John Shishka, I think you had mentioned last time when we discussed this that you had some materials that...
They're in the truck. I have them.
He brought them today.
Oh, you brought them today? Oh, okay. Okay, great. All right, very good. Thank you.
Okay, the second week that we're not at Brookside is our annual dinner meeting with the Interactive at Emmaus High School. That meeting will start at 5:30. Michael Hannes has graciously agreed to provide the pizza as our meal that night. We'll have a short program, and then we're going to be doing a project. Truthfully, mainly the kids are going to be the ones doing the project, but just so you're aware, our club has, as a project, has purchased 7 little libraries. I don't know if you've seen these, but they're, you see them scattered around the community. But they're boxes of books that people can borrow or deposit. There's no real formality to it. You just take what you want and leave what you want. But each box is going to be placed at each of the 7 elementary schools in the East Penn School District. So what the kids will be doing that night, and you're more than welcome to help, but I'm giving you a warning just in case. We're going to be painting those boxes that night. So if you're coming from work and in a suit, you might want to bring an extra, a long shirt or something if you want to sort of get involved with that. I think it's going to be cool to just sort of sit back and watch the creativity flow from these kids as they decorate these 7 boxes, because we're really not giving them any rules. So it should be fun. So
what was the date?
That's February 1st, 2 weeks from today, at 5:30 at the high school, and we'll be meeting in the main cafeteria area. We'll make sure in the newsletter that week to designate exactly where you enter so that there isn't confusion. Okay, another thing to just put on your calendar, we're sort of within the 1 month orbit of it at this point, is the Mardi Gras pancake supper at Superior Diner. That will be on Mardi Gras. This year that's February 13th at 5:30. It's always a enjoyable event. We'll have pancakes and a bunch of other stuff that Superior cooks up for us. Jim Palmquist today brought in the club's charter. You may have seen it as you walked in. It's on a table back there by the door. I think it's dated February 2nd, 1926. So we're coming up on our, what would it be, 92nd anniversary in a couple of weeks. So you might want to stop and take a look at it. It's pretty interesting, and it looks like it's 92 years old to me. So cool thing for us to have. And in the transition between Ray and Jim, it was one of the documents that Jim came across and thought it would be good to display for everyone. Any other announcements from, I'm sorry, Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, get your dues in. The end of the month is the due date, $110. We've all got invoices if you owe us money. Some people have paid in advance. The other thing is if you have makeup, send it to me now. Ray's going to be stepping down and I'm picking up the makeup, so get that. And I plan to move that charter into a box and put it over at Dale Dree's storage.
Bryce.
Real quick, just following up to Fat Tuesday, Pancake Day. Please let us know who will be attending or not attending these. We need a bit of a notice in advance. So you can let me know, call me, email me, or text me.
Bob.
We have 2 cards that Pete brought in to sign. Alma is in the hospital, not an emergency, but a major problem. And I understood too, the name Peasley is also out. And, oh, she's here. Well, somebody told me you were out. So.
I escaped.
And Dale Drees is a little bit under the weather. He's having some tests made at the hospital, so we're going to have a card for him next week. So.
Nice.
Thanks, Bob. One more announcement that I meant to say and I overlooked. The 4-way test speech contest is March 1st at the high school. It's, I think, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Billy Moyer needs some help to officiate that contest. If you have an interest in that, please let him know. March 1st on that afternoon. It's a Thursday. Okay, if there's no other announcements, I will turn it over to Jim Ritter for the raffle.
Designated carrier is our official card reader here. Last 3 digits, 319.
Oh, very good. You will. You were hot.
Glad you're here.
289. Last one is 321.
Oh!
319
and 321, and I have
Okay,
320.
congratulations to all the winners. All right, Valerie, I understand you are the acting sergeant at arms today. I'll turn it over to you.
Have we all broken our New Year's resolutions yet?
Yes, yes.
Only if you made some.
Well, if you didn't make some, hopefully your wife told you what your New Year's resolutions are.
No, my wife did not
All
tell
right, we
me.
have some late finds today. Mark Earl, Steve, Lisa arrived late so that she could leave early, so there's that. Bryce was late. Let's see, we have some no pins. Ray, Rick, Mario had no pin and no medal. Wilmer, no medal. Chris had no pin. No medal. Jeff had no medal. Terrible. It's terrible. I don't know. It's a good thing I'm here. You guys are not behaving yourselves. I don't know what else. I want to talk about that. And John Chestnut, could you stand up, please? I wanted to make sure nothing was wrong with your legs. I saw you parked in the handicap spot this morning.
Hey, Bill just said you have to have the pin, you don't have to have the medallion.
Who has $70?
You need the pin.
Yeah, ahead, Bob,
I
go
just
ahead.
asked him.
I have it.
Yeah, I know, but we was a question whether you need the pen. You do.
At least 3 people have kept their New Year's resolutions because the tabs are rolling in. I got 2 bags and an envelope full. So if you want to keep your resolution and you forgot to bring them, every week we'll have them. Maybe we'll have them next week too if you bring them. So they're doing on good. I think I'll bring the jug in after another week. It's getting close to the half full level. So appreciate your help. I'll give $1 for it now.
Those of you who've been in the club long enough to remember my oldest daughter, Nicole, she was an officer in Iraq and Camp Knighting. She got engaged on New Year's Eve. We like him. She said yes. We like him. They've been living together for 3 years. They have a dog and they're looking for a house, so it was time.
The question is, do they like in-laws? Yeah.
I have an education dollar. Since there is not a rule book for the Sergeant of Arms, I just wanted to save you some money in the future. In case you try it, for those that remember, Don Blos was kind enough to get these, and there is a rotary wheel on it. Steve said it was okay, Valerie said it was not. So if Valerie's here, you can't get away with it.
When did I say it was okay?
About 2 weeks ago.
I changed my
Must have been
mind.
out late that night.
Changed my mind, right?
Half $1, and it's just in honor of Ray Schumacher. He's done such a wonderful job for many, many years as our club secretary, and I know we won't be seeing him much anymore since he's moving, but thanks a lot, Ray, for everything.
Somebody missed that I was in the newspaper on the 27th, so I'm paying $2 fine. We gave a check of $10,459 to Pediatric Cancer Foundation of the Lehigh Valley. And for that we asked all the dentists in the area and some local businesses in Emmaus to buy these lovely bright t-shirts with "Fight Like a Kid." So if you see your dentist, all your dentists and the staff with "Fight Like a Kid," that's the campaign we raise money for. Okay?
I'm very, very happy to have escaped from Lehigh Valley Hospital. I was there on and off for 3 weeks. Good food, good care, but happy to be here.
Lisa, go ahead. So I'm usually with dog stories, and for those of you that are relatively new, you haven't heard them in a while. A year ago I flew home, I lost my dog, then we had this puppy, and I actually got fined because I was showing the entire table pictures of this gorgeous puppy, Callie. Well, we are celebrating Callie once again. She's a little over a year, but she's now an official registered therapy dog with the Alliance of Therapy Dogs and registered with Lehigh Valley. So if any of you know of anyone that needs for her to make a visit, could be anywhere, let me know, because we can go individually or we go with the group. So yay, Callie.
Go ahead, Bob.
I have a rebuttal dollar. I know Ann believes in the four-way test, so I know it must be a great enjoyment to get the food at the hospital. It was so good, they must have gotten a new kitchen and new cook. I was there for my last hip operation for 13 days, and I lost 15 pounds. It's probably true, but it wasn't true 8 years ago.
It could be a statement on my cooking.
Or his choice of food.
You haven't heard a story about my kids lately. So
Not again.
yeah, here we go. So Catherine had a basketball game on. It was the second basketball game I've been able to get to this season because I'm coaching James. Their starting shooting guard had a volleyball tournament, so
Catherine, who's normally the center and the defensive guy, had to step up, scored 40% of their baskets. She and the point guard played the entire 40 minutes with no subs, but they fell short. They lost 22-20. So they, but they're still 6-1. So.
So remember we had a transgender speaker here a few months ago?
Yes.
And I wanted to give you an update on that. There's a club called Queenstown in New Zealand in the South Island that has a transgender club president, first co-president in their district, and her wife is the district governor.
Wow.
Did he say from Queenstown? Is that a bad joke? It is a bad joke right now.
You can make that.
Get rings on trans people.
I don't think I have mentioned, but my youngest daughter is expecting her first child in about a month. So I'll be a grandmother for the third time, and it will be another boy. So we have 3 grandchildren.
Woo. You're going to be busy helping out. Is it close by to shoot?
Okay, thank you, Valerie. Turn the microphone over to Bill Erdman for today's program.
Thank you, Bert. Again, it is my pleasure to be able to present not only Paul Harris's, but 14 of them. For those that were at the meeting at the time, you recall not that long ago, we presented 16, so today we're presenting 14. Just a quick overview of the levels. I've said this before, but just to let you know that today we're going to be presenting from a Paul Harris up to a Paul Harris plus 6. And as I've said in the past, each of the successive increments is another $1,000. From a procedural standpoint, the way I'm going to do it today is I'll make a couple notes from what they call the script in terms of recognition, and then Jim's going to help me, and we'll bring them up in the categories of a Paul Harris plus 1, plus 2, and then if you would acknowledge the members when they're up here for each of those levels. The Paul Harris Fellowship is named for Paul Harris, who founded Rotary with 3 business associates in 1905. The fellowship was established in his honor in '57. As I said, it's a $1,000 contribution for each toward humanitarian and educational projects. It's a tremendous pleasure to be able to present these. One other thing on the Paul Harris I just wanted to mention kind of as a side note. The Paul Harris can be given to someone who's not a Rotarian. And it says it right in here. Rotarians also designate a fellow to recognize another person whose life demonstrates a shared purpose. So it could be presented. I don't know that it's been done in the past. It may have, and I might have missed it. But
Rotarians'
if there's someone in the community who...
I think we gave it to a few Rotarians' wives.
Yeah.
I think
Okay, well,
Ralph's. I think Ralph's wife, Kathy.
We also
might
gave it
be.
to one of the doctors in India.
Okay, well, I stand corrected then, so apparently it's been done. But I just wanted to point out at a local level, if there's somebody in the community or even beyond that you look at that person and say, this person may not be a Rotarian for whatever reason, but they live, breathe, and sleep on what Rotary stands for in terms of, dedication to the community in whatever way they do it. So if you have anybody in mind, I would suggest you think about that. That is one option. So it's great on behalf of the trustees to present these Paul Harris Fellows, and I said a moment ago we'll do those with Jim's help through the different levels. So the first one is the Paul Harris. We have 2 Paul Harris. That's Don Blows, and Gary Guthrie. If those 2 would come up here, I'd appreciate it. In the case of the first Paul Harris, they get the pin, they get the medallion, and in that regard, I just failed to mention, for those that are wearing the medallions, or if you're not and you are a Paul Harris Fellow, I would like to thank you for your past support. And they also get the certificate, like this, for the first Paul Harris. The successive Paul Harrises are just pins. Box.
We had to narrate.
So here's your certificate.
Okay, if we could acknowledge these two Paul Harris players. Thank you, gentlemen.
Get a picture.
Picture. Smile. Why don't you get in there with Jim? Smile, Don. There we go.
Oh, that thing too.
Thank you.
Okay, the next level is a Paul Harris Fellow +1. We have 3 members of the club, Steve Gould, Ann Peasley, and Don Seagreaves. If the 3 of them would come up here. There we go. Okay, if we could have a round of applause for these 3 attendees.
Stand up, Ann.
Okay, the next level is a Paul Harris +2. We have 4 of them. They would come up, please, and mention their names. Seal Bertzel, Carl France, I don't believe Carl is here, Eileen Prokop, and Ron Stocker.
Yes, he has one of the shrimps.
Okay, if I could have a round of applause for these Rotarians. Okay, the next Paul Harris is a Paul Harris +3. Mark Earl, if you would please come up here, we have 1. Okay, if we could have a round of applause for Mark. Okay, the next level is a Paul Harris +5. Lexa, if you would please come up here. Okay, if we could have a round of applause for Lexa. Okay, the final level is the Paul Harris +6. You heard about Dale Dries earlier. He's not here, but he would be one that would be acknowledged. Bert Duran and Eric Locke, if you would please come up here. Okay, if we could have a round of applause for Eric. Okay, just a real quick overview. I don't want to get into detail, but particularly for those who may have not heard it before, there's a number of ways to support the foundation. They've been around for a long time. There's not too many left, but for those that are interested, we have what are called these piggy banks, where you can just put change in here, bring the bank full of change. I take it to the bank. Embassy does it for free, and get them to count it, and you get credit. Typically, depending on the number of quarters, this is about $35 when it's full. That's one opportunity. E-Ray is the other one. We set it up years ago to make it real easy. It's $15 to pay for breakfast plus the raffle. If you have a 20, you can put the 5 at the end of the table, and over a period of roughly 20 weeks, you get to that first E-Ray level. And then there's other opportunities. There's direct deposit and so forth. Interesting conversation with Wilmer last week. He was at the 1946 Rotary International Convention, and he gave me a booklet from 1946. This is a list of the Paul Harris Fellows in 1946. And I came away with basically 4 things in looking at this. The first one was eye strain. I know you can't see it, but you wouldn't believe how small those names are, and it's been around for 60 years, so the print has started to fade. So my first step was eye strain. The other thing interesting that I found is there's a Fred Schaefer in here. You heard Bert mention that earlier. He was a Paul Harris Fellow at the time. The other thing interesting is there's a Dan Boyer. I checked with Jeff this morning. That's his grandfather, right? I have that right. So his grandfather was a Paul Harris Fellow in 1946. The other observation, which I found really interesting, and I didn't obviously do a count, there must be 1,000 names in here. It's very interesting, 1946, now think about that, that's a year after the Second World War. I would guess that 60 to 70% of the Paul Harris Fellows in 1946 were from Japan. Now, I'll just leave it at that. You can draw all kinds of conclusions from that, but I found that really interesting as I went through. There was times when I went through 3 or 4 pages long with nothing but, it had the country listed with Japan. So you kind of ask yourself, what was the thinking? What was the mindset? What was the community like? Now, talking with Jim this morning, he said that I guess Japan had Rotary clubs prior to the war. They kind of went down during the war because it was thought to be some sort of a subversive attempt to underwrite or undermine the government or whatever, and then it came back. But apparently it came back in droves after the war. So I found that kind of interesting. One final thing, and as I mentioned a moment ago, there is the direct deposit. We could use your help, and by the way, I wanted to thank Jim. He handled, on the backside, he handled the recording of the E-Ray contributions and the checks and so forth, which was great. He did a great job of putting tables together. The one challenge that Jim had, and I now have since I'm doing everything, is if you are in direct deposit or you send a check directly to the Rotary Foundation, there's no way locally we have a record of it. I'm going to check with the Rotary Foundation and see if it's possible to get that. But if you are in the direct deposit, if you could just send me a text or an email and just say, I don't need, the amount doesn't necessarily apply. I'm doing direct deposit. That way you can keep the E-Ray stickers up to date on the badges. And I think that's important because I know in the past when I've mentioned that, someone will come up to me and say, you know what, I didn't realize, I thought I had given this year. And what really confuses it is the Rotary year is from July to June. And people think in terms of a calendar year. So for example, if you're like me, you write checks toward the end of the year for your contributions and so forth, you kind of forget the fact that you didn't do it. So it's a good reminder for individual Rotarians, but if you would let me know you're in direct deposit, then we can make sure we keep up on the stickers. In that regard, I would ask, if you look at the badges after this week, I'm actually going to come down sometime in the next couple days and update the stickers on the badges, but if you look on the badge and there are no stickers on there, that indicates that according to our records, nothing has been contributed, or at least not up to $100. And I know in some cases that, in certain circumstances, I know that's not the case. But I have no way of knowing without those records. Mark, you had a question?
Well, I was just going to mention that another way to give to the foundation is through your estate planning. And that may be something people want to consider, and there's folks at Rotary that can assist you with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't get into all the details, but Mark brings up a very, very good point, particularly if you're doing your estate planning. You can leave money to the Rotary through your estate, which is, as I've always said, it's kind of great because by the time you're gone, you don't care. Your kids may be a little upset about it, but if it's what you believe in, then you may not be upset.
Well, it can just be a portion of your...
Yeah, you get a portion. Well, for example, for those that have heard the story, Warren Buffett, as much money as he has, each of his kids is getting $1 million. However, it's going into a foundation they're going to run, and all the rest of it is given to charity. So there's an extreme situation of somebody that really, really appreciates how the world has treated him and is giving back to the community. So just one final thing. Kind of reminds me of a story. You kind of think there and think to yourself, okay, well, with all the problems in the world, including in this country, if I give $50 or I give $100, I mean, what does it mean? It's such an insignificant amount. And I'm kind of reminded of a story that you may have heard before. There's a gentleman walking along the beach with his son. And every once in a while he bends down, picks up a clam, and throws it back in the ocean. And after about 3 or 4 times, his son looks at him and says, "Dad, are you nuts?" He said, "There's hundreds of clams here. And you're throwing one at a time." He bends down and picks one up and throws it in. He said it made a difference to that one. So my point being, if you think your $50, $10, $100 doesn't mean anything, it's going to mean something to somebody in the world. So I would ask the minimum amount you can give, whatever it is, whatever you're comfortable with. I'd appreciate if you could step up and help support the foundation, because that's the thing that makes the entire Rotary organization work throughout the world in terms of all the things we do. So with that, if you have any questions on E-Ray, Paul Harris, any of those things, I'll be open for those, and if not, that's pretty much the program. Jim?
I thought I'd just say a couple more words about this business about Japanese being good donors. You know, a lot of you know that I got involved in Rotary when I was selected to go to Japan for a month on a cultural exchange called Group Study Exchange. And I was in Japan in 1995 for the 50th anniversary dinner of Rotary coming back to Japan after the war. We had, it was a formal affair in a big hotel ballroom. We had gold flake soup. We had like a soup with gold in it, and they were really happy to be back in Rotary 50 years. And I guess I should say that in Rotary in Japan, there was a lot of high-end people. It was presidents of companies and directors of institutions and that kind of stuff. It's more expensive in Rotary to be in Japan to be in Rotary, I think.
Yeah, and there's one other thing on that. We had a discussion at the table. The question was, has it always been 1,000? It's kind of interesting. 1946, in the front cover of the book, it says Paul Harris Fellows $1,000. It may have been less before that, but at least since 1946. So just one final thing, if I'd ask for one more round of applause for current and also the fellows that were presented this morning.
Thank you, Bill. Just a couple of other quick things about the foundation. Our year-to-date annual fund giving, per the reporting on my Rotary that I just pulled up, $11,418. Our goal, which I will admit was a bit of a stretch, is 20 grand. So we have a little ways to go. And for those of you who have contributed, thank you very much. For those of you who haven't, please consider donating to the foundation. It's the engine that fuels all the good work of Rotary, both with our local projects and international. It's fighting polio. It's making a difference in the world. So it's the one of the. It's a high-rated charity. I think it got the top rating from Charity Navigator this past year and has for several years. And it's just a terrific way to leverage your gifts with the power of the foundation and make a real difference. The other thing I was just going to say, I noticed this on another report I was looking at the other day. We have 91 members in our club. We have 62 Paul Harris Fellows. That's a really good number. There's a lot of clubs around the world that tout that they're a 100% Paul Harris Fellow club. You know, they got like 20 members, right?
Guilt trip.
To have 62 in a 91-member club, I think, is a tremendous thing. So over the years, it shows the commitment that all of you have had towards supporting the foundation. Really appreciate that. Okay, we're going to get out of school a few minutes early, kids. So let's rise and recite the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Have a great day.